Egypt leads the D8 Organization for Economic Cooperation with a pivotal summit in Cairo, setting the stage for economic growth and collaboration. In Syria, the collapse of the Assad regime has opened new doors for Western engagement with its evolving leadership. Meanwhile, the recent killing of top Russian General Igor Kirillov in Moscow raises questions about security and global implications. But for now, let's start with Egypt's leadership of the D8 and the upcoming Cairo summit. Welcome to In Focus. The D8 Organization for Economic Cooperation represents a remarkable example of the potential for collaboration among developing nations. As Egypt continues its leadership role until 2025, the emphasis on empowering small and medium enterprises and fostering economic cooperation is a testament to the nation's commitment to advancing shared prosperity. The upcoming Cairo summit reflects the collective drive to unlock opportunities across critical sectors, from trade and industry to education and health. With over 1 billion people, a combined GDP of $5 trillion within its framework, the D8 is poised to be a key player in reshaping global economic dynamics. To further analyze this summit, we're joined by Dr. Amr Sulaiman, Professor of Economics at Helwan University. A very warm welcome, sir, and it's a pleasure to have you with us on the show. Dr. Sulaiman.
Thank you for you and for our guests today.
Sir, as Egypt takes the helm of the D8, how do you see and how do you read this role contributing to the organization's overall objectives, sir?
The D8 is one of the emerging organization for economic cooperation. Of course, the main objective for the organization to improve the economic cooperation, of course, which includes enhance of trade, investment, the South-South cooperation, and of course to have the same identity, the Islamic identity for the D8. This is also one of the most important aspects for the organization, especially we have different geographical area and a different structure of economies for the countries. So, of course, there are a lot of areas of cooperation. This could be, of course, the international trade and investment, agriculture, energy, food security, of course. So we have a lot of opportunities if we have political will. So
Sir, did you say political will?
Yes, of course. I think now it's better than a few years ago, but I think will be important for this is a win-win
situation.
And with the release of new strategies for members of the organization, I think we can have more collaboration and international cooperation, especially in fields of agriculture and energy.
Okay, sir, the SMEs have been highlighted as a central theme of the Cairo summit. Why do you think they are pivotal to the economic growth of the D8 nations?
I think we have for the D8 we have a potential for regional value chain. For example, I think we have, of course, integration among member countries and the diverse of economies. This is will of course promote for many areas. I think we have the agriculture and food security. This is the most important issue, I think.
Sir, which sector do you see overwhelming?
Sorry?
Which sector do you see as the most important sector that we should be working on?
Of course. I think technology and innovation, of course, transportation and communication.
What about health, sir?
So, of course, health is one of the most important sectors, but I think it will be more easier for tourism, for human resources also.
Of course, sir, tourism is very important for the economy of Egypt precisely. Sir, with discussions on trade, education and health collaborations, how can member states leverage these sectors for mutual economic benefit?
Of course, to find mutual benefits and the win-win, this is the best way for economic integration or economic cooperation. The trade deficit of one of the most critical issues for all developing countries, not only the D8. So to find a clear way and a clear areas of intervention and to trade, this is important. Of course, we have the comparative advantage. For example, in Egypt, we have comparative advantage, of course, in the field of human development, of education, especially the Islamic education, also the field of technology, and we have a lot of opportunities by exchange.
Okay. Dr. Sulaiman, thank you very much for your insights into the economic prospects of the D8 under Egypt's leadership, sir. And we wish, of course, a successful summit. And we're going to be, of course, minute-by-minute coverage on this very important summit. From economic cooperation in the D8 to shifting alliances in Syria, we will now explore how the West is engaging with Syria. The New York Times headline, Syria's new leadership takes early steps towards recognition, underscores the swift diplomatic efforts following the Assad regime's collapse. Ahmed El-Sharra, leading Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, has prioritized rebuilding and refugee repatriation, meeting with UN envoy Geir Pedersen, and securing renewed diplomatic ties with nations like France, Turkey and Qatar. However, as the report highlights, international recognition hinges on critical conditions: protecting minority rights, ensuring inclusive governance, and disavowing extremism. The rapid engagement reflects global interest in stabilizing Syria, but with the HTS's controversial past, the path to legitimacy and sustained support remains fraught with challenges. And now we move on to the UN Security Council session, which is taking place now. And the UN Palestinian representative, Riyad Mansour, who is, has the word with him now.
Fire does not come about in the coming days, and we hope it does. We ask you to act under Chapter 7 to demand an immediate and unconditional ceasefire. That is the only way to bring to an end to the massacres, to secure the release of prisoners and hostages, to ensure humanitarian aid reaches all those in need, to end the forcible displacement of our people and annexation of our land, and to ensure the full withdrawal of Israeli occupation forces. Madam President, this Council adopted 8 years ago the landmark Resolution 2334 to put an end to the land grab and to pave the way to ending the Israeli occupation and achieving a just peace. But unfortunately and expectedly, Israel persisted in pursuing its colonial agenda, flagrantly and wantonly breaching international law and UN resolutions. And this Council and all states are yet to adopt the measures that hold Israel accountable for its crimes, bring them to a halt, and reverse its unlawful annexation of Palestinian land. Since the onset of the occupation, Israel has confined Palestinians in the occupied Palestinian territory to the areas already built up and inhabited. Only 13% of East Jerusalem and 40% of the rest of the West Bank. The aim has always been to ensure that Israel could seize maximum Palestinian land with minimum Palestinians. But even that was not enough, and Israel decided to violently displace and replace our people, to forcibly displace Palestinian families and communities, to demolish their homes, to build settlements in the heart of our cities, and in a manner to destroy the territorial integrity of our state and to fragment our people and our land. The ICJ has stated in no uncertain terms, and I quote, "The sustained abuse by Israel of its position as an occupying power through annexation and an assertion of permanent control over the occupied Palestinian territory and continued frustration of the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination violates fundamental principles of international law and renders Israelis' presence in the occupied Palestinian territory unlawful." End of quotation. The court called for an end of Israelis' unlawful presence in the occupied Palestinian territory as rapidly as possible and reminded all states and the UN of their obligations in this regard. Only resolute action and measures of accountability by the international community as a whole shall lead Israel to stop its methodical destruction of the Palestinian people, of the Palestinian state, of the two-state solution, and of the prospects of peace in our region. In this regard, we await the report of the Secretary General, we expect in a few days, on implementation of Resolution ES-10/24 and ES-10/26 to inform future action by the membership. We will study it thoroughly, we hope you do, and then we will decide on the next steps forward. We welcome the launch of the Global Alliance for the implementation of the two-state solution and the decision of the General Assembly to hold a high-level international conference in June 2025, and I think my French colleague referred to it, on the implementation of the relevant UN resolutions pertaining to the peaceful settlement of the question of Palestine and the two-state solutions. We call on all states to act without delay in line with their obligations under the Charter and international law to bring an end to Israel's unlawful presence in the occupied Palestinian territory and to ensure the realization of the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people, including their right to self-determination and independence. Madam President, Israel, in parallel to its full-fledged assault against the Palestinian people, is attacking all those trying to support Palestinian rights and to save Palestinian lives. We have seen it with the UN and especially UNRWA. And we welcome the overwhelming support by the General Assembly for the agency in the face of relentless Israeli attacks. And we have seen it against international NGOs, most recently Amnesty International, following their report concluding that Israel is committing genocide in the Gaza Strip. And we have seen it against states, most recently against Ireland. The Israeli foreign minister closed the Israeli embassy in Dublin, stating, and I quote, that Ireland has crossed every red line. Really? So Israel continues genocide, starves and forcibly displaces a people, colonizes and annexes land. But it is Ireland which has crossed every red line for denouncing these crimes, for insisting on respect for international law and for human rights. You must be kidding me. How much more absurd can this situation get? How much more indecent can Israeli officials get? Israel has now accused the UN, almost every state on earth, the ICJ, the ICC, the world's most renowned NGOs, public figures, and moral voices of our time of anti-Semitism. Jews around the world cannot be held responsible for Israelis' actions, nor can Israel speak in their name or use them as shield to deflect condemnation of its violations. We reject this deliberate conflation between the actions of a state, or should I say, the crimes of a state, and those who belong to a given faith. And we should all consider that this is dangerous and a terrible disservice to the fight against anti-Semitism and must demand it stop. Ireland and other countries around the world have shown that they will not be deterred nor distracted by Israelis' baseless attacks and smear campaigns. They will hold to their principled positions despite the bullying, threats, and harassment. We salute all those who are standing up for freedom, justice, and peace, many informed by their own histories and their own struggles, and are pushed to action by their commitment to international law and to human rights. Madam President, those who think they can end this conflict by taking more Palestinian lives and unlawfully colonizing more Palestinian land, or that they can bypass or ignore the Palestinian question, and somehow establish peace in our region are delusional. They are ignoring 77 years of history that demonstrates that there is no way around the Palestinian issue, and that there will be no peace in our region without the peaceful settlement of the question of Palestine. Let me repeat that there will be no peace in our region without the peaceful settlement of the question of Palestine. We are out of time, but are not out of options. We are not powerless. Occupation, war, and death are not our only horizon. But we all need to take the required actions to bring them to an end. No more delays, no more excuses, no more half measures, no more strong speeches and weak actions. Let me repeat that. No more strong speeches and weak actions. Action speaks louder than words. This is a time to show resolve, to be guided by moral clarity, and to lead by example. We call on each state to examine what more they can and must do to uphold international law and to implement UN resolutions. And we tell them they have a responsibility before history and humanity, for our people, for all peoples, to act now so that freedom, justice, and peace can prevail. Act now to end the massacre and genocide in Gaza, to end the ethnic cleansing and apartheid, to end this illegal occupation, to end the conflict, and to achieve peace. We ask for nothing more than the rights international law guaranteed to our people. But we also cannot accept anything less. The Palestinian people need your continued support and solidarity, now more than ever. Please do not forsake them. And I thank you very much, Madam President.
I thank the permanent observer of the Observer State of Palestine for his statement. I now give the floor to the representative of
Madam President, I would like to thank
No more delays, no more excuses, no more strong speech and weak actions. These were the words, actions speak louder than words. These were the words of the UN, of course, the UN pre-Palestinian representative at the session of the United Nations, Riyad Mansour, who mentioned, of course, that Israel is seizing the Palestinian land and, of course, of the displacement and the territorial and the genocides and atrocities that are taking place in Israel. He also mentioned the violation of international law. He reasserted about the importance of witnessing a Palestinian people, a Palestinian state, a two-state solution as soon as possible. And the end of this episode. At the end of this episode, we thank you very much all for watching. Thank you very much, and stay tuned for more to come up here on Qnews.